The Spin-Off Podcast Network.
K-pop to me means more than just listening to music. It's learning to be myself.
The Spin-Off's new documentary, K-Pollies, follows 3 Pacific youth obsessed with K-pop. In a one-off documentary, see what they've found in Korean pop culture and how they bridge it with their own.
When you start dressing, looking different, everyone side-eyes you. But in K-pop, they're just like, no, like celebrate yourself.
Watch K-Pollies today at thespinoff.co.nz/videos. Made with the support of New Zealand On Air. You're listening to Business is Boring, a podcast that reckons it's anything but. Business is Boring is brought to you by Spark Lab, offering inspiration and practical advice to help businesses find their edge. To hear more about Spark Lab, including details about the latest events, workshops, and business tools, visit sparklab.co.nz. And now, here's your host, Simon Pound.
Kia ora koutou katoa, and welcome to Business is Boring. When you think design conference in New Zealand, you think semi-permanent, which this year is celebrating 20 years of bringing together the design and creative industries and sharing the stories and starting conversations between some of the most influential people working here and overseas. The conference began to just create a forum for people who cared about these things to connect, and it's grown to be an international phenomenon. It now includes a studio that does brand and experience work for everyone from Google to Gucci. Simon Velvin is Semi-Permanent's director and curator, and he joins us now to talk about building the business, staying at the front of culture, and bringing people together. So thank you so much for being with us, Simon Velvin, founder of Semi-Permanent. Tēnā koe, thanks for being here.
Kia ora.
Hey, so tell me, this is the 20th year of
Simon and Simon.
Semi-Permanent.
That's probably 20 years old.
Yeah.
Our years receded.
How did you come to begin the kind of concept 20 years ago?
Yeah, so Semi-Permanent started, 20 years ago. It was really just a thought around the table. There's nothing happening in the industry globally. I think there was 2 kind of conferences, and the background I'd come from was corporate. So, there were always things happening in the corporate world. You literally are inundated with courses and learning and development, and there was really nothing. And then the platform started. We had Banksy, Shepherd Ferry. Diesel sponsored the whole show. Banksy is a real person, and it kind of got instant pop culture from there. And then the brand kind of, design in those days, art and design in those days, was really an afterthought of the marketing department. It was just a thing. And then as the world's evolved into, modern day brands and design thinking, and all the way through to the, design-led businesses now. It wasn't there. It wasn't there then. So we kind of just built it out, and we thought this is a great way to do it. And there was no kind of rhyme or reason to it. It was just a good thing to do at the time, and there wasn't around.
Awesome. And so how do you actually go about, paint a picture of for us of the first couple of Semi-Permanents. Was it a small group of people who you liked, or how did you get it off the ground?
Well, the Sydney one, there was 2,000 people there, and that was cool. There's a big exhibition with Banksy. I think his artwork was sold for $80 on eBay after it wasn't sold at the exhibition. I think some of it was plasterboarded over in Murray, my business partner's father's house, and which is probably worth quite a bit now.
So throwing your Bitcoin away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Throw the wallet away. And then the first one when we launched it in New Zealand with our agency at the time, that was cool. And we didn't really know. We had no expectation for it. So when there's no expectation, there's always kind of there was complete fear, and we're terrified. And we were running an agency at the time, so it was that was sort of one of the projects we thought was kind of quite cool to do. And it was sort of 400 people at the Bruce Mason Centre. I can't remember years we did it there, maybe it was 2, but then we sort of grew it out and it kind of got a bit of traction. And the brand grew from to like 2009, and then we had sort of a bit of an exit within the company. And then I flew to Hong Kong and then sort of parachuted into there and set it up in Hong Kong. Completely knew nobody. And when I met some really interesting people who helped me sort of bring it to life there. We had an amazing partner like Lane Crawford, but it was funny because partnerships you're supposed to in an event cover your costs. Well, that's in an ideal world, and then ticketing revenues all your cream. But that never happened in New Zealand, or to a certain extent in Australia. But as soon as I landed in Hong Kong, I was like, wow, I think I got a $750,000 deal there, or maybe it was a $1 million deal. It's just it's completely opened your eyes around the scale that you can put these things on at. And obviously you see these big events in America and Europe and stuff. So that completely opened my eyes.
Yeah, wow. And in terms of how do you describe what semi-permanent is and does?
My mum asks me this all the time, so does my wife. It's like TED for the creative world. That sounds really lame. You have to leverage it off another brand. It's like a semi-permanent is it's effectively a creative conference. Yeah. We sort of line the show with a series of workshops and keynotes, talks and panels. Yeah, it's a live event.
And then the people that you bring in, how do you kind of go about deciding on what the right mix is of speakers and, attracting people like, a Banksy, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's just semi-permanent serves the complete creative industry, isn't it? So it's everyone if you have 12 slots to fill, you won't fill it with 12 graphic designers. You'd have a filmmaker, an architect. You'd find someone who's into perfumery, or you'd find someone who's into, patterns, or someone who's doing something really interesting in craft. You'd have someone who's more of a celebrity. You'd have someone who's the complete opposite of that celebrity. We've had we've had a Google and we've had an anti-Google, and we actually put them side by side together. So I think that the curation, again, the mix right around, diversity, which is, I always remember when we first started doing the show, we had this woman who used to shout out, and she'd go, "You're not enough female speakers." And this was 2005, and she's completely right, we didn't. And so the speakers, we had Vice there that time talking, and one of them took offence to it, and the other one thought it was completely true. So one got dressed as a female and came out, and the other one came out and he was half naked and refused to speak and spoke through a puppet. So we've always tried to, and this was back in 2005 when this thing, completely anarchy. But this thing wasn't even a thing back then, and we've kind of cottoned on to that, and it was not through wasn't purposefully. We still say, that's completely true. So 2004, finding females in the creative industry was really tough. A lot of them were illustrators, but now 20 years on, it's easy. A lot of them, there's amazing creative directors, there's amazing influence. So designing the program from a diverse point of view, and I thought our best show we've just done in Sydney was phenomenal. We had people from all walks of life, and that's really important around how you get that level of curation done well. And then you have to have people who have influence. You can't, if I went and got 10, 12 people that, no one had a clue about, it just wouldn't sell. It wouldn't sell. Yeah, the brand, no brands, I think, no. If South by Southwest, for example, we did a lineup, and South by Southwest much more well-known brand than ours. They put on 30 odd people that no one knew about. Would you get 60,000 people there? You might get 10,000 people there, So I think you have to leverage the kind of the popularity of some of the names while kind of peppering in other sort of people who you believe are kind of moving through the ranks.
Yeah, the difference a Metallica makes to a Big Day Out. Even though the Big Day Out's a massive brand, without a Metallica, they don't sell enough tickets for it to work.
Completely, yeah. Yeah, completely.
And what's it like for you as an event, manager and designer and, in charge of running one, is, looking at it from the outside, there are so many moving parts and everything is so, an All Black test or a change in the national mood or, the weather or whatever can throw things. And, what's the journey like for you of actually putting on one of these events? It must be a total roller coaster.
Yeah, I think the more organised you can be, the end-to-end is 9 months. So 9 months is from you pretty much any project. We run sort of 3 to 4 a year of the SP product. 9 months is sort of the piece. So you get curation, partnerships, and then you sort of go. Then you let them sit, and once you've got them done, you let them sit. You sort of mull over them, and then once you sort of finalise where you think the program should be, then it's kind of just goes into marketing. So like it's not as complicated. Now I've done it for 20 years. It's not as complicated as as you're sort of making it out. The first one you always do is completely. Like anything you do, it's difficult because you don't know what you're doing. But once you know the sort of intricacies around like customer behaviour, speaker behaviour, industry behaviour, we've seen enough with like changing governments, changing moves. They all do affect ticket sales. Like even like you think about this one here, like I said, we've had the whole industry right now is slow. Live Nation, one of the biggest promoters in New Zealand for music, slow. The only one that's doing really well, I think, at the moment is Wow. I think they've nearly sold out all their tickets. I still saw them selling some. But what's interesting about that is that it's singularly focused, entertainment-based and event-based. So I think like that is the kind of some of that secret sauce is like around creating great experiences for your customer. It was really cool, something to do. Live is back, but definitely mood affects things. Budgets tighten up. A lot of the creative industries and design industries, it's all coming in-house. So, previously we'd sell to the marketing department, now we're selling to the HR department, So it's, yeah.
And what is the kind of like, like you mentioned there, the guest experience, like Wow's become a thing because it's for a whole lot of people. It's a great weekend in Wellington, is the kind of vibe, right? What's the way that you build out those interactions between attendees and those kind of like magic moments that people get on the personal level at these events?
Yeah, the workshops are like the way different levels of kind of intimacy we try and create is like we've got a partners and speakers evening, we've got a VIP evening, so we've got Escape Race doing an amazing cocktail experience across the road. We're trying to add in more. We've got like a party at the end within the venue, so people get to mix and mingle. The conference is kind of very, it is one directional. Having a great MC is really important to kind of add to the glue to the show. But then sort of designing sort of experiences where people actually get to meet speakers and hang out with them. And that's where we're sort of trying to bring in the workshop pieces when they can get a little bit more of a kind of closer view on some of the ideas that have been created. But also sometimes it's quite nice to create, we're shortening the week. Like we used to do the event on a Saturday. Can you do an event on a Saturday unless it's music? No. People want their weekends now. Back in the day we used to do Friday, Saturday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's complete taboo now. Will we ever do a 3-day event again? No, we will not do a 3-day event. Too long. Probably 4 years ago, it was okay because everyone's into wellness and yes, look after your staff. And now it's like, yeah, we want to look after you, but not 3 days much. So like 2-day events now. And to be honest, if I could do a 1-day event and make it 1 inch thick and 1 mile deep, I'd do it. And that's around how you take over more spaces and curate it over a day because the production values the production costs are lower, the impact's higher, people's attention span's higher, and people's kind of willingness to kind of give themselves to something else for 2 days is quite a long, unless it's a dentistry conference.
Yeah, and yet, like you say, dentistry there. I mean, like the cool thing about this event is that it's become part of like the cultural landscape, right? And as like people in the
your opinion.
Creative communities or whatever, like it kind of shrinks the world a bit too. Like when you have the best of New Zealand creatives beside like people who are running things at a Google or a Netflix or a Slack, and you see the caliber of people and the caliber of ideas, it's really cool, for kind of shortening and feeling like the New Zealand conversation is part of that global conversation.
Completely. I think like that's you bang on. Like the best things is when you see. You see yourself or you see a New Zealander next to someone who you perceive to be, the best in the world at it. And I think all I've ever seen, I've met a lot of really talented and amazing people. They are all wonderful human beings. They are like seriously the most grounded human beings in the world. And I think that, that's what you'll get out of like this year's event. Like they've got the guy who pretty much designed the Netflix product coming down. He is the most animated, fun, cool human being that you'll ever meet, and he's just really clever, and he's just worked really hard. So I think like that's the more I've seen. Like yes, hard work, yes, skill, but like the only thing I've found like with New Zealand is like what's interesting about the world is like that's still prevalent, that whole tall poppy thing, like, don't be too good, don't grow too hard. Don't be the best, too much of the best. And like, I still think that's still something the hump we still need to get over. But the speakers, they're all kind of they're all just the most genuine, well-rounded, soulful human beings, that I had the pleasure of meeting. And I think that's what I want to see people get out of it. I go, okay, be a good bugger in this world and really give a shit and make sure you're doing it for the right reason.
And to that with the right reasons. Like a lot of these people that you get, like if you were just putting on a conference in America, one of 1,000, they'd probably have a massive speaker fee, right? Like, what's the factor of the New Zealand and Australia for some of these things as well factor? And normally you'd go, if you're a 12 to 24 hour plane ride away, you'd up your fee. But what do you find with these speakers?
Don't want to give away my. I'll tell you one thing. So here's one for you. So Bruce Mao, he one of the most famous designers on the planet, if you know. And I remember his fee was $75,000, and that was in 2008, maybe 2009, between 2008 and 2011, and he just wrote that big book. And then he came down in 2018 or 19, and he was free. And all I did was look after his friend really well the year before. And I said, I know Bruce. I'll introduce you. So he introduced you. And then that trust and that kind of love that was exchanged and that relationship was transferred. And now it's still there. So I can get Bruce back whenever I want. I can work with Bruce whenever I want, and I can get Bruce's network when I want. So we do have, like, we've just built, the brand of ours is just looking after people. So we've built that out. But then again, like, some people are on the speaking circuit and they do have a fee. And also you have to have a level of equality around how you approach people and transparency. So fees are still, like we've had like Oliver Stone, the film director, he's a big pull name. He costs money. I shared earlier, like, talked about Taika, like, I think we offered him $50,000 to do an interview, and he said, nah. In Sydney, he's like, so it's like, so it's all kind of, it's sort of ebbs and flows around, getting that. But on your point around New Zealand, it is massive. Like we, as a country, it is a huge factor. It is on everyone's bucket list. It is a bucket list for, like, most of the people I speak with.
Yeah, and then you're able to bring them over and give them a magic experience.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like, semi-permanent is probably what, lots of people are very aware of. But tell me about kind of how your business has changed over the years, as it's now kind of only one of the things that you're doing as you've built out other elements to what you do, yeah?
Yeah. The semi-permanent is our creative platform. It is our front door to our business. It is a creative and design festival. We're in sort of 4 countries now with that product. We've built out a creative studio, so the studio service is our partners. We work with, we've got a couple of big clients where, like Google, we do the whole DE&I program, and we run their called Rare. And we also plug that into a couple of our festivals. So we've got like Rare sessions. They do everything from like how to create non-bias and judging, like Rare Judging. They've got a allyship program. So we've sort of orchestrated that with an amazing woman called Tara at Google, and now that's their global proposition. So that's one of our sort of big products we work on, and we play a lot in that sort of space around creating bespoke brands with people around a specific topic or curation. The studio side, we're working with like Inku, Nike, Gucci now. We're doing all these really rad installation projects. We've built some good relationships with people like Daniel Ashram, amazing artist, and like some of the Hayden Shape surfboard. We bring them together. They collaborate on a surfboard. We run the piece, launch that. So we get to work and we had Coach ring us up the other day because we did this cool project. But that sounds all glitzy and glamoury.
It does. It sounds really cool.
But luxury fashion, have no money. Yeah. Like, we were dealing with like Gucci. Like, I don't think I made any money off that project. But it's still one of those things. And also, they talk about it, but we kind of still do. And it's like, but there's no money in those things. They're kind of they're an interesting expression, and they are they come with a certain level of kind of snobbery
Yeah, putting some cool things into the culture, and some of them you do for your own enjoyment, some for the book, some for the business.
And we've done we're working on a bunch of, we've done an amazing EV car launch. But the cool thing is what we've found is our kind of the network we've developed. We work with look up this guy Jesse Wilson. He's he's a New Zealander. I don't know about him. We've collaborated with him on this new EV car launch in Australia for Hyundai, and it's stunning. So we're taking all the best bits that we've done for our events, and we're putting them into our concept and creative studio now, and it's just working. We just did a party at Soho House, and it was called Party of the Year in Sydney last week, and we're okay, and we didn't ask for the media. It just kind of we sort of know what we're doing now, and we know what kind of brands are looking for. And that's sort of in the studio space. That semi-permanent hotel we designed was a huge hit. I think what was really interesting about the semi-permanent hotel, just to paint the picture, like you say, for it, is we took over a whole hotel. We work with everyone from Gia Coppola, who did an interactive exhibition, to Flume. We had a scented room. All the rooms are taken over. People had no frigging idea what they were walking into. We launched Polestar's new car. We basically took all the elements out of the car and smashed it to pieces and made a beautiful sculpture. So people walked into this thing having no idea. Polestar thought it was their event. The audience that we invited, 1,000 people into the hotel, thought it was their event, and they were walking through a hotel going, hey, wow, there's an amazing room here, and they kind of went to this room, and then there's a party down here. Glenn Fiddick was launched a new kind of thing, and they had a cocktail bar, and they thought it was their party. So it was a really interesting way that we've kind of put a creative lens over a hotel with music, art, there's a fashion element, huge design element, and transformed a space from a canvas into this new concept called a semi-permanent hotel. Heist and Mighty ran with it on a media platform, and it it was a little pop culture moment. But everyone was the author of the experience. So I think there's something really interesting about that. It's not us. We just did something that we created, but it was everyone's brand.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of an aha moment for us, that brands are looking, and this is through COVID, brands are looking for different ways, and this is probably more in the experience design space. Brands are looking for different ways to make impact. You've got PR, everyone knows, you work with a big artist and you do this big cool thing, get PR around it, and yeah, that's really great. But what is the experience? Actually getting into nuts and bolts. And, as a kid, I used to love running through hotels and, touching vending machines and all that sort of stuff. So kind of getting back to kind of, really understanding what audiences are looking for now, and just making people feel something, I think is really important. The world, I'm diverging, but it's just become really plastic, it's just become very digitized and plastic and
homogenised, eh?
Really
you can go onto any airport or shopping mall in the world.
Yeah,
same store, same experience, cookie cutter, and those kind of real experiences.
Yeah.
They mean, and do you think they mean more because people have been holed up in their rooms for a couple of years as well?
Could be.
At this moment.
I mean, let's think about it. What industries can be kind of the film, the cinema experience. Let's think about that. The cinema experience right now, that could be completely revolutionised. And there's big film companies behind us that you could kind of rethink it. 100% the retail experience. We're concepting a couple of things at the moment, architects and stuff. And what's the retail experience? I mean, the golden sort of the holy grail was, Nike's always kind of battered above its weight around the retail experience. You got running tracks and the Nike ID, design your own shoe and delivered to your door in 2 weeks. Those things are that'll make everyone feel amazing in a moment. Those things are the, some real strong kind of milestones to hit. But yeah, the retail experience is still the same. I mean the other day, and it's bless her soul, she's probably a shit day, but I was just fuck, man. It's man, you're having a really bad day. It's so that was crap for me, going there and buying just a jersey in Wellington when I was cold.
Yeah. And what do you think personally about you? You keep quite a low profile in all of this, with a whole lot of high profile stuff. You don't do much media. You're not even on your website, I don't think. I had a little look around to see, and do my normal research, try and find you about.
New Zealand's a village, mate. There's enough bell ringers around. There's people who need to do the mahi, so it's there's. Yeah,
but the thing that you bring, bringing these experiences together and thinking about how people are going to feel, and thinking about this. I know what you're saying. Doing more media, doing more PR is more about you, and I'm less about I, I'm more about we. And we is the creative industries, and we is celebrating the people that we bring together. So
do you want to listen to me? I can give you some insights, or do you want to actually listen to the smartest person in the world doing something really in that space? I'd rather champion those people. My job is really to find those people and bring them to the forefront, and also just connect them. I'm more like bringing the best knowledge into New Zealand, bringing the best knowledge from New Zealand into America. That's our role. There's no need for us to be, our brand's in the media. Our brand is just an echo of the experiences we create and the speakers that we have involved, and the moments and the memories that people have. So that's all it is. There's no need for me to sit there and be on the front cover of a magazine. That's not our jam.
You love it, man. And we'll be back in a moment after the break to talk about the power of networks, the kind of people Semi-Permanent connects, and what's next. Spark is proud to partner with the Sustainable Business Network and the Climate Action Toolbox. The free Climate Action Toolbox can provide you with simple step-by-step guides to measure and reduce your emissions. Help lead the way to a low-carbon future for New Zealand. Visit sparklab.co.nz/sustainability to find out more.
Raising capital or taking your business to the world? Investment Fix has the lowdown on everything you need to make it happen. This season, we're exploring the US market, the opportunities it offers, what it takes to grow a business there, and the best way to approach investors. Join some of the superstars of the investment and business world as they share advice from their time in the US so you can make your mahi count in this massive market. The Investment Fix podcast, brought to you by Invest New Zealand. Tune in today.
Ready to rediscover the joys of cycling? With over 300 kilometres of cycle paths across Tāmaki Makaurau, jumping on your bike and going for a ride is such a fun way to discover the city from a different perspective. Cycling is getting more and more popular across Auckland, so now's a great time to join the hype and give cycling a go. Head to at.govt/cycling to find your nearest cycleway today.
And we're back with Simon Velvin of Semi-Permanent. So, tell me about your experience in COVID, because I'll bet having a bunch of live events and a schedule and a business that's kind of really based around that must have been a really difficult experience.
Yeah, no, that really was. If you picture this, it's like your industry just got wiped out. So like my wife's a physio, and if I equate it to her, I was thinking, it's like you're not allowed to touch the body anymore. So like the event industry, and it's not just us, it's all the auxiliary parts of the event industry just got literally turned off. So yeah, it was really, on a personal level, it was really hard. I think I went through some form of depression. I think I went through some form of over drinking. So I went through a personal journey to kind of come out, and that was kind of just a coping mechanism. So I'm out the other side of that. But on a business level, how do you reinvent your brand? So that's when we did build the studio out. We still managed to pull off the Semi-Permanent hotel in that space, and that was a really interesting product. We had a project we did with Sia and Daniel in Portugal that allowed us to also kind of work with COVID. We designed this 9-room experience of a 20-year music history with Sia and her music director, and we kind of moved people through the whole space in a COVID-friendly way. But yeah, the actual Semi-Permanent festivals were shut down. When we saw it coming, we worked with industry, Alt Special and Auckland, and then the government around how can we give this thing away for free, because we just thought the creative industry also, was decimated. So we sort of thought, well, that's all we can do, and then we just needed to sort of shut the door. Luckily, as I mentioned before to you, we had 2 projects that we had concepted with Google and with Tokyo Olympics that actually we didn't actually let anyone go. We actually put money in the coffers, allowed us to think, and we built the studio. So we built the studio out of that, and now we've come out, and the studio is 2/3 the business. And now Semi-Permanent is just the front door, and allows us sort of to create an expression. And that's where I think we can really kind of hone in now and make it the best version of what it is. And this be a place where people can kind of come to find, I mean, you won't get everything out of it. You just, as long as someone just gets one thing, I think that's value. If you get one thing that sort of changes your trajectory, and the great thing is we had so many stories, even this year. Oh yeah, I used to come to Simon Velvin. I used to drive up my Datsun 120Y from Wellington, and now he's a marketing manager of some brand we're working with. What's his name? I forget it, but it's great. You see those sort of stories come through. People built businesses, changed their careers, coming to the event, and they're just nice. Those are those nice little gentle threads that you can't monetize, nor do you want to. It's just the industry that we're in.
What are some of the kind of your favourite moments over the years?
Some of the best speakers, yeah. I mean, Taika was actually, before Taika, he always thinks he's a rock star. I remember I said to him, but a rock star now the second time, he goes, because I always was. He went, I think, in 2007, I don't remember. But I remember he came on stage and, I always loved that Came a Hot Friday, Billy T. James film. And he played this video of him running around with a gold jacket on K Road with a cap gun, shooting people. And then he kind of came on stage, and Wacom tablets had just come out at that time. And he sat on stage and he illustrated his life. And, it was when he had the film Two Cars, One Night, was quite popular. Or did you win an Oscar for that? Yeah. So that was definitely memorable. And then you kind of go through to Aries. We had this year in Sydney, Aries Moros. She did the same thing, I think. She did a timeline of her life, and it was really, I think what the best speakers are is someone who actually speaks from the heart, and that's what we always encourage them. They get emotional on stage. They kind of pull it, it's a therapy session. Like pretty much every talk, someone has to retrospectively look into their life and take a point of view of where they're at and where they see things going. It is effectively a therapeutic process. So she illustrated life, and then she gave me one gold kind of thing out of that talk was don't find the role and fill it. Find the person that you want to work for. If you find the person you want to work with, design the role around them. So I think they're the most impactful. And the other one was, I think Revolver back in the day said they shared a project that they worked on with Hyundai, and they made $6 million, whatever it was, and their business went backwards 4 years. Or 3 years, what he said, I think it was. So he said, what you say no to defines you. It was the crappiest work, the biggest budget, and no one wanted to work with them afterwards. So I think some of those things are really pulled on my heartstrings. Oh, Chip Kidd, he gave a piece of art history. He gave a eulogy on stage that no one knew was happening. And at the end of his talk, he played the New York radio station clip around his partner of 30 years dying. And everyone was just like, and everyone just bawled their eyes out, and they sort of dropped the mic and walked off. So I think those have always been the most impactful, just having a really authentic conversation about where you're at, the struggles you've had, the insights you've gained, and I'm a general optimist, so things that have aligned with hope, and positive outcomes that have come from real negative positions.
And how do you go about finding the best speakers for that? Like, are you, on all the TED Talks? Are you off to other conferences? Are you having the network for, who the great storytellers are? Yeah.
I think we don't really, TED, no. I haven't watched a lot of TEDs, even though some of them are on there, definitely. You have to sort of, you're right. I think a crap talker, someone who can't present, it's not great. So you have to sort of weed those out. This is actually, I'll ask you a question in a second, but I think you've got to weed them out and actually kind of challenge. And also, they don't have to be like that. We've had people who are terrible talkers, but they're very iconic and they're just awkward, and that's okay. Because, Emmy Paris, phenomenal, pair of designers out of Paris. Very flamboyant. I remember I had them at the hotel. I put them in a corporate hotel, and he goes, "This hotel is too business-like. I do not like it." And so he booked himself into a Victorian bloody villa. So I think they first and foremost you need to kind of once you find them, they need to be kind of a sound speaker. Really, you can have a conversation. You can literally go what were you happy about? What are you sad about? Like really kind of have a personal conversation with them about life, and then you can kind of understand where they're at and where they're coming from. So you actually have almost a therapy session with them first and go, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and this is where I'm going. Finding them's relatively easy. Like designing a curation mix is, you got to have names because that sells tickets. But then there's sort of the people that are coming through that can blend in, that are kind of the best in their craft, and then you can create a story around them and get them, either it's visual or it's interesting around some sort of, you know, global theme or global conscience. So yeah, there are other ways, and we've got a network now, so we just sort of go, you know, design, film, architecture. Who's doing the most interesting stuff in architecture right now? You know, Snow Eater's pretty cool. You know, they're out of Norway. We've got a really interesting company who just built the largest timber building in the world, speaking in semi-permanent. So like LHR. So yeah, we just sort of just dial in our network. And if we don't know, we just ring people. I'd ask you, like, you know, I could ask you, probably had 100 people through the podcast. Who was the best, you know, podcaster you've had on? So, like, you know, it's just kind of using your brain. And also we've got great people. Like, we've got an amazing creative director now who pretty much leads our curation. He's, you know, but he admits it as well. Like, he admits, like, as I shared with you earlier, like, you have to kind of understand a lot of companies we're finding now are designing banks for 12-year-olds. They're not designing banks for you and I or for the old generation. They're designing banks for the new generation. So, you know, and a lot of companies also we speak to are going all in on youth insights. So I think like the job we still need to do is actually work with we've got like amazing team of like, we've got 18, 19, we've got 21-year-olds. They're all born in the 2000s? I don't really know how to say that word. You know what I mean? It's like we just have to talk to them, but also filter out all their bullshit. And yeah, so that's the mix. It's not that complicated, you know. It's what we've done for 20 years, and also what we do for a lot of clients now as well.
And who is semi-permanent for? Like, who's the ideal guest to head along, and how's that changed over the years?
Yeah, well, I looked at our stats the other day. Like, we effectively service the pure ESP brand services the communication industry. So, you know, creatives at all levels. So, advertising, design, you know, and visual design, graphic design. The more serious side of the program, we sort of did, like, for example, in Wellington, we sort of curated a program around more product, strategy, creative entrepreneurship. Really successful brands like, you know, Fix and Fog, the founder, Roman there. We've got Karen Walker, you know. She's got a great story to tell. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. You know, her sort of philosophy's moved from, you know, designing a product to sell to the world to go and find the best crochet or the best wool maker, and now she works with them to master that craft and take that and then take that to the world. You know, it's grounded in Aotearoa, and it's grounded in working with craft. And that's actually something we're thinking about a lot, potentially in the brand going forward, is like, well, do we go back to the crafts? Like, what it like, you know, there's a bit of a renaissance now around craft. Like, do we go back to the craft? Is that an interesting space to play in? Because you look at all the modern day, you know, UX designers, UI designers, they all come from architecture, or they've all come from product. So yeah, it services that complete creative industries, but there's not a lot of money to sell tickets to that sometimes as well. So like designing a more of a, you know, a serious product is something that's in the works to service more of the sort of the front end of the business industry. You know, I've shared that story before, but I won't share that.
What would your advice be for people who are interested in, you know, creating great events and experiences? Like, how do people go about doing something like that?
I think you got to work out the why. Like, it's like anything. Like, you have to work out the why. Why are you doing it? And why you, like, our challenge is now, you think about the, like, Salesforce. They do Dreamforce. The budget for that is $600 million. $600 million for Dreamforce. So that's their, like, the Xerocon thing that Xero does. It's funny, I just got an email back from Xero saying, "Oh no, we can't see any people. Our budget's been cut," even though I spend more money on them than they want to spend on tickets. The idea of building a platform is brands are trying to, and this is what I would encourage anyone to do. they're building their own platforms. You should own your own data, own your own platform, own your own voice, own your own event. And that's the challenge we're facing. Like, how do we then cross-section all those, from a creative industries point of view? The why is important. Why are you doing it? Is it to make money? Is it to change a narrative? Is it marketing? Is it for recruitment? Like, you work out the why. And then, or is it to celebrate a moment? And then I think really quickly you can kind of weed out all the cracks. Everyone thinks it's easy. They're really not. It's really not hard building a strong event platform. Like, we've got, we should have a database of over 1 million people now. We've got a database of over 100,000. But building that kind of foundation around a strong brand, it takes years. Like, it's taken us 20 years and we're still trying to master the craft. If you've got money, it's easy. Like, you think of someone like, Salesforce. They go, right, we're just going to dump a whole lot of money, hire a big venue, put on all the stuff, and it's
open with Rihanna,
Exactly, and that's great. You got there. But if you're wanting to build your own platform, you've got to be really clear around it, around the vision for what it is and what it's not.
So, and as a final thought, what will success be for you and for your company?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I mean, success. We're only ever as good as our last project, I think, is always success. I think, like, success is actually, like, hearing stories, success is just meeting. All we're trying to do, like, as a platform, is to continue to connect the creative industries globally, and it's to continue to influence. I think, like, the bureaucracy in the business in the world, are they going to affect change, or is it going to be the people who are coming from underneath, and is it creative industries going to affect change? And that's our belief, that we need to keep fostering that. And we sort of chatted about it earlier before we got on stage around, creative industries always takes the hit. Design industries always take the hit. Technology industries are a little bit insulated. They're the ones that are going to sort of foster that kind of that soft space, the empathy space. And I think what I'm seeing with the youth coming through now is, and with social media and the acceleration of, getting conversations into market, is there is a groundswell happening. And I think, around even your last speak you just had on around sustainability, like one of our partners, BNZ, like, really interesting, like, end of their arc, they're on this ESG, environmental sustainability governance journey, and all corporates are right now. At the end of their arc, they get to choose their customers based on a value set that they've created around environmental sustainability and governance, so looking after people and planet, which I think is fantastic. And, like, having conversations now, like, we've got Deloitte Digital as a partner, like, you've got now mainstream corporates buying up creativity. Is it a bad thing? No, it's not. It's democratizing creativity. It's fantastic. Like, more creativity and more design that will create better conversation, better thought-provoking conversations. And all we are is just one cog in that engine. So success for us is just seeing the world evolving in a beautiful way, from a spiritual point of view, not in the sense of religion, and positive impacts happening through, like, look at, like, the drama that Patagonia created when they gave away their company, like that. They're a success for us. We don't see ourselves as like a above or below anyone. We're just part of an ecosystem. So success for us is those conversations, like, is seeing impact in the world, and it's like having amazing conversations with speakers, seeing them connect in and meet each other, then go off and collaborate. Success. People walking up to you in the street going, I did this and I remember that, and you hear that person that's success for us. Seeing someone walking around with an SP bag on, they actually like what we're making, that's success. And I always go, nice bag. I see it, like they're just the little moments, and that's all we can do. Like, there's the big stuff and the little stuff, and that's just who we are. It's pretty straightforward.
It's magic, man. Well, congrats on 20 years of creating those connections and being a big kind of like positive force for culture. It's a magic thing. And, everyone has their semi-permanent moment. So, kia ora. Thank you for being here today and sharing that story.
Thank you, Mr. Pound.
And so thank you to Simon Velvin of Semi-Permanent, to you for listening, and for everyone who helps make this happen, like our producer, Te Aihe Butler. Do follow Business is Boring wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to rate and leave us a review if you like what we do. E noho rā.
From the Spin-Off Podcast Network, that was Business is Boring, brought to you by SparkLab. Make sure you're following Business is Boring wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information on SparkLab, visit sparklab.co.nz.
Talofa lava. I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spinoff. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spinoff member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spinoff Podcast Network.